Hi, you're listening to Julie Taylor, and this is Julie and Company. Today, our guest is Richard Burcombe, Mayor of Town of Brome Lake. Hi, Richard.
Good day, Julie.
I'm so happy you're here today.
Well, it's a pleasure being here.
Yes,
Certainly.
and today we're going to talk about, how you are from the region and how it came about that you decided to run for mayor. Do you want to tell me briefly where you're from?
I was born in Sherbrooke, Lennoxville, Sherbrooke, and then, of course, moved to Manson. That's where I grew up as a teenager. Then we moved here when I was approximately, 13 years old, 13, and finished the rest of my high school here at Knowlton High School. Back then it was a high school, not Knowlton Academy, primary. Well, they had both, but it was the high school too. And then the year I graduated was the year the regional was formed, the regional school in Council. And that's basically it.
So you know the region well.
I know it very well.
And you also speak French.
Oui.
Yes. Oui, je me rappelle très bien. So you learned from being in the region, because I find what's so wonderful about our area is that bilingualism is almost a part of life.
That's correct. And most of the people I meet, you would think they're just uniquely Anglophone, but they speak both languages and vice versa.
Exactly.
French also speaking English. But just quickly, I learned my French basically at the l'Institut Police de Québec in Nicolette.
Right. That's right.
Yeah. Because I was a police officer.
And you could have been exempt of that.
I could have been exempt.
That's right.
That.
So tell me again, how it came about that you were part of the police force in the region. I understand it's quite a funny anecdote.
Yes, it is. I was with my girlfriend, who is my wife now, Susan. We were coming back from Cowansville, and I went through Gilman Corner. I had a nice fast car, a 440 GTX, back 1968, but this is 1971. So it was 3 years old, and I was going fast, and I saw the police car, and I went through, and he turned his lights on, but I just okay.
I'll go faster. I'll go faster around the corner and hide.
I got a faster car, so I came to Knowlton, and I stopped at Shan's Restaurant coming in, where the location is now, the tool rental place, and bought a package of cigarettes. Back then I was smoking, and came out, and that's when the police car just pulled into the parking, and it was the chief of police and Gregor Lamborn, and he says, "Can I see your driver's permit?" And I said, "Well, what for?" "You were speeding back there." I said, "How fast was I going?" And all that, and he wouldn't tell me, so he gave me a ticket for speeding. And then a couple days later, I was at home, and I had just been laid off from Northern Electric, and my dad, back when the construction crisis in 71, and my dad said, "Oh, there's an opening for a police job here." Read it in the Sherbrooke Record. So I had to go up and pay my infraction anyway, so my $10 speeding ticket. So
it was almost
everything was cheap back then. And so I went up to pay it, and the chief was there, and he said, "I thought you're here to apply for the job." He said, "You would make a good police officer." And I'm like, "Well, and this and that." So I made out an application, and the rest is history. So 43 years later, as a police officer, and then becoming mayor.
Yeah. But during that stay, I think the law was changing, but you could have been exempt when they went from being a local police force to the SQ. Is that what happened?
No.
You were exempt? No. Tell me a bit about it, because you chose to learn the French language, and you may not have had to.
The first police act came into effect in 1970.
70-odd years.
Basically, because I went to Nicolette in September of 72. I worked a year here as police before going to the Institute. So the new police act stated that every new police officer had to go to the police institute, and it was a new police institution there.
Yeah.
It had just been formed in that, but anybody that was already a police officer before were exempt, and I was already a police officer. But I chose to go, take a chance, and I'm glad I did, because I learned to be a police officer, and at the same time, that's where I learned to speak French.
So we were saying that you're bilingual, and in this region, it's almost as if the language is not an issue. I don't feel a lot of tension here this way, the way that you may feel it in other regions of Quebec, Montreal, or parts of Montreal, and this continuous narrative that one is getting in the way of one's blossoming. That doesn't exist here. Almost as if people have come together mainly around the values and the lifestyle that Knowlton and the region offers.
Yes, that is correct. Because, I mean, even in my career as a police officer and as mayor, putting all those years together, which will be up to 55 years of public service, I rarely came across anybody. There's always a couple somewhere, but I mean, they're not even worth mentioning. So it could be in a grocery store or somewhere. You meet somebody that comes up and you're in Quebec, speak French or whatever.
Yeah, happens.
But it's so rare that it's not even worth mentioning.
I agree. I really appreciate our bilingualism here and really essentially focusing on the values and the beauty around us. It's such a wonderful community, and we're blessed with nature that has been preserved for so long and preserving nature going forward. So you've been now 3 terms in office.
Yes.
You were elected. How did the campaign go? How did you go about campaigning and securing your position, or I don't know how you'd say it? Where was the insight, the intuition, and how did you go about campaigning for your first mandate?
Well, it was I was thrown into it. I mean, my last day working as a police officer was September 28th. I tabled my nomination papers with the town that Friday afternoon. And, of course, Saturday start campaigning. So, I mean, I tried to get somebody to hire as my campaign manager to help me, but everybody was taken up with the other candidates because they were already they put their campain together and they got first dibs. That's right. Yeah. So they were able to. So consequently, I said to myself, I'm just going to go at it and grassroots style, and I put up I got the posters made in council, I got all my stuff together, I put up the posters myself, and with tie wraps on telephone posts with my stepladder sticking out of the trunk of my car.
How long did that take?
It took quite a few days to go around the whole, because running for mayor, you're not just running in one section. You're running in the whole town, so I had to cover the whole town, and you want to make sure you didn't leave anybody out, because then they would say, oh, well, you didn't even come to this or that.
That's
part.
right, that could play against you.
And as a police officer, I knew all the territory, I knew all the roads, I knew everywhere, so it was good. I really enjoyed the campaign that year.
And I think I remember we had a chat about this, that you approached different groups.
Yeah.
You were invited, or you thought of approaching them?
No, I was invited. They came to me, and it could have been in a private household where they got the whole, like in a conference, Sinclair, Capel, there was a private residence that called me and said, we've got a meeting here this afternoon, Richard, and we'd like you to attend and speak to everybody here. And then there was one on Lansdowne from all that sector, and so I was invited, so I went. And
so one at a time you were gaining their confidence based on your charisma, your values, and your platform. What was the message? What were you promising to do?
Well, the only thing I promised was to bring peace back to the town, at town halls, at the council, and because it was a rocky 4 years from 2009 to 2013, whatever the reasons. But I'm not getting into that. And that was my motto, really, to bring peace back and to run the town properly and have a good people under me, a good team. And that's what I was able to achieve. And it's all up to the team, because without a good team, you're not... you'll never survive.
Exactly. You need everybody to do their part and work together. So you brought that cohesion to the table. And would you say the citizen's implication is, how important is citizen implication in the success of governing a town?
First of all, the citizens are always, they have their own, how can you say it, their own concerns, their own opinions and comments, which you must respect, and you must answer them with, politeness, integrity, even though they may not agree with certain policies that you have. But if they come to you with respect and treat you with respect, we're always able to work with them. And citizens many times have good ideas.
Exactly.
They come up with certain things.
And I was thinking, how can they be involved in the process? Because there are committees, there's probably on a monthly basis. when the city meets, the town meets, at what time would there be place for opinion, ideas, and other implication from citizens? Is there a microphone time where people can show up and be implicated? Do they get to vote? How is it, how can I say, integrated in the political process, in the decision-making process, that there is an opportunity for a citizen, outside of seeing you in a restaurant telling you what they think, to be part of that outcome? Does it exist?
Well, it exists to the point where they can, many times they come right to town hall to see me. It's not outside a grocery store somewhere. It's very, how do you say, professional, and I will take notes and stuff like that. And they can always send it to the receptionist, their concerns or certain things. But the best way I find myself is to be on committees. You got the Environment Committee, you got the CCU, you're worried about the environment, you're worried about the protection of the lake, you got Conservation Lac Brome, who always needs volunteers and people to help them. And, and just come with your concerns, whether it's with a loisir, you go to the community center, you express it. We have a system of what they call requête in French, where you will send an email, and with your concerns or your question, or to report something, and then there will be a follow-up, and the town will answer you back.
Okay. So if I wanted to, I felt there was an urgency to make the committee that will vote and go beyond with decision-making of something. Do I show up at a meeting? Is there anywhere that I can not interject, but bring some information to the people concerned, who are all going to be aware of what the issue might be?
Well, back in 2014, I believe it was, 14 to 15, we started Meet the Citizens.
Yes.
And that's done usually, we leave it up to the councillor of each sector to arrange a time that's convenient for them. And then we reserve a hall. If it's in West Brome sector, we usually do it at the Auberge, West Brome, where citizens can come, foster at the Ovid Dagenet Community Center, and they come, and sometimes we have to do it on a Saturday, because we used to get good attendance. And it lasts about 3 hours, and citizens come with all different concerns, and the Director General's there, I'm there, and the councillor for the sector is there.
And that is, in French we say prévu. In English, it is worked in on the basis of once a month, once per quarter, once a year?
It was twice a year at one time. Then we felt that there wasn't enough in attendance at the beginning. The first one was, you know what I mean, but two so we ended up, people would come at councils. We have a question period. But I mean, a good person, not a good person, but
a good meeting.
A good meeting is when the person sends their questions, concerns before by email, and then we ask it at the council meeting. We state at the council meeting that this person sent this request, and this is the answer, because it gives us time to do research, and not just, we can't have those figures, right with us all the time.
Okay, so take note, people. You can write your concerns.
Yeah, you can write. You can...
and there'll be a follow-up.
Yeah, and you can go do the citizen committee meetings and stuff like that when we announce it, I
was also thinking, there has been a lot of change here in Knowlton. I've been in and out. I'm moving back here on a more permanent basis. However, I do see that there's been construction. Douglas Beach has been very well developed. And when I say very well developed, it seems to have been optimized. I noticed there's nice activities in the winter. You can go and skate and all those things. I don't remember them from before, but maybe I'm senile. And now I had a question. When it came time to make a decision, this is a Julie question, to make the decision of paving the parking, I'm coming from the point of view, and this is just me, coming from the point of view that if you come to a parking lot that is almost like a mall, was that essential and necessary, and for what reasons? Because my concern is any pavement like that would be trapping the heat, and heat radiates out, and nature is so fragile. We're right in a crisis of, managing the environment so that we don't have repercussions that are unmanageable thereafter. So I guess there was a thought-out decision to do this, but I was curious to know, how did it come about?
Well, we weighed both sides of it. First of all, the parking had to be well managed. And with it being gravel, there was no way we could manage it. People parked any which way. It was bordel, as they say in French. It caused a lot of inconvenience. Second, we couldn't put any liquid calcium down because of the dust, because so close to the lake, we're not allowed to. So we looked at all the options and we said to ourselves, we're going to pave it. And most of the time, cars are parked on the asphalt, which reduces the, as we say, the bad environment about having an asphalt parking lot. Because I've seen in Montreal and places abandoned shopping centers where there's nothing. You know what I mean? Most of the time in hot weather, the beach is well used. We have captation devices, which with the asphalt, we could direct the water directly to the captation devices to catch all the sediment before it goes into the lake. So everything was looked at, and we decided finally, and I'm an environmentalist myself. My wife calls me Mr. Compostage. So because, I'm very strict on environment, recycling, and stuff like that. But at the same time, it was probably the best decision, or we made the decision, and we thought it was the best decision, and I still stand by it.
Okay, I was curious to know, if in the process of making that decision, were citizens aware of what was coming, of the dilemma? Could they have gotten involved and had an opinion? Or does that all happen once you're elected, you get to make a lot of decisions and it all happens, I won't say behind closed doors, but as a day-to-day, and then nobody's quite aware of where they're at in the process of making a decision? Where is there a bulletin board of what's going on?
Well, we advertise everything that is going to be done when contracts are going to be given out. That for the aménagement.
Very good.
Anyway.
Yep.
And that was all given out and by contract publicly. But when we want to consult the people, like for the urbanism plan coming up, there's going to be public consultation meetings with the citizens. The one for the habitation, the same thing. There was public consultation for that. For a couple of other things, we had public consultation. We had good participation. And that is when but we can't, when you're voted in as mayor and council, you're voted in to make decisions, and you make the best decision you can with the information you have, and that's what we've always done, especially with the team that I have in place. I understand that some people you can't please everybody, but at the same time, that is what we're there for, is to make decisions. Otherwise, the process will be so long, we'll never get anything done. So we must make certain decisions at certain times, and we advise the public. They're advised either by public tenders going out or whatever, and they can see what, and when we pass it at council.
Right. So we're all in this together. We all love our region. We all want it to stay as green as possible for as long as possible. That's one of the main features why we do establish our families here. Would it be true to say, or is it the case, or tell me otherwise, when a city needs to raise funds for their expenses, do they tend to think along the lines of, well, let's create more opportunity for people to build because that'll be more tax revenue for the municipality? And is that a short-sighted view? Because in the end, given there's going to be influx of money, after that, you have to think of expanding the services, the infrastructure, and at the other end, catching the issues, the potential problems. Is there a short-sighted view, or are there really people in place who are having that conversation to think of the long haul and the long term? I say this because Knowlton has stayed as beautiful as we see it today. And I drive towards Cowansville, and it's not very long before you see how everything is just coming at us from every corner. And how do we manage to keep it green and keep it almost as naive and pristine as it's always been? Because we do have a duty.
Well, of course, we have the project of habitation, how much we can go every year, new residents and new buildings. At the same time, the urbanism plan that was adopted in 2013, the zones are all there that you can build on. If somebody buys and they're allowed to put apartment buildings up, you can't deny them. You can
No,
only,
I understand. Once it's done, it's done. Once it's
done.
put through, it's put through. But
yeah.
okay.
And this new urbanism plan coming up is the public is going to have total consultation.
Okay. And when's this?
That will probably start after around September. We're in the process of getting it together.
Okay.
We had to hire a new directrice for the gestion territoire, the land management, and she's in place now. So and it's worked out great. She comes from Montreal. She's an urbanist, so she knows very well. So all this has to fit together, and I understand people's concern. I mean, we have 8 or 10 apartment buildings going up. I mean, there's not much more in the long term that I can see, maybe a couple more that will be finished, but it's nothing compared to Cowansville. We're not exploding.
No, I know, but
I understand the beauty of it.
Build it and they will come. So if you want to keep it, more quiet and more rustic, there's a balance, and it's not so much the balance of people, but I call it the balance of people to sky to brick to mortar. There's a fine balance. Yeah.
Oh, certainly. And I've lived here basically all my life, as I said, and some things I was against, but they were zoned for it, and we couldn't go back. But now with the new urbanism plan, that's where we're going to control the next 5 years, and consequently, there could be zones that could be changed, and they could be taken out of what they are now because it was a mistake to have them in there in the beginning. What they call the périmètre urbain, the urban perimeter in English, is all over the place in some areas, and really it shouldn't be. There are certain properties on Lakeside Road that are in the urban perimeter, which it's ridiculous to have them there. They'll never be subdivided and turned into multiple residences on that property because they're worth $8 or $10 million of property. So there's no way that happens. So take that out. We don't need it. You know what I mean? So and the other thing is the architectural part of it, which is called a PEA, where we can determine the look and everything about the building. We are in control if it's in the architectural. There's 3 lots on Knowlton Road where some of the apartments are not adequate. They don't look good, including the Dollarama. But they were not in the PEA. Why? We do not know. There was 3 lots right there that were not. The rest all around it is in the PEA.
So what I'm hearing is that before you leave, there'll have been put in place a new zoning plan for the next 5 years of development, and that will be brought to the attention of the citizens around September for them to take note and perhaps get involved or articulate another point of view or get involved in certain ways. So it's going to be probably by September that it's announced. And how much time might people have to?
It's a very slow process. It won't be put in while I'm in office. This will be the new council, and they will adopt whatever they decide on. We're going to start the process.
Right.
But it's not a thing you do in 2 or 3, 4 months. It's something that's going to take probably 7 to 9, maybe a year to come to full terms with it.
Okay, so in September it would start being unveiled.
That's right.
And that would be 7 to 8 months for people to react.
Then there'll be public consultation.
Absolutely. Okay, got it. And then it will be put in place in 5 years.
Yeah.
So on that note, I was curious to know, have anybody seen where the new fire hall would be going? Is that going to be part of that package, or?
The new fire hall, we already have space on a lot on Victoria Street. When the plans were drawn up, it wasn't quite adequate because they want to enter from the back, and we didn't have enough area in the back to go in. They would have had to back in like they do now, which according to maybe it's the CSST,
so it's an issue, and it's something you need to consider for the next.
Now we're looking at some other space, and we'll be.
And it won't be on Victoria.
It could be on Victoria.
It could be.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah.
And by the time that you find a new space or get it clear that it might be that space, can citizens get involved and be consulted? Just because I think of Victoria as a place where there are a lot of homes, and with the daycare there and stuff, I was just wondering.
Well, it actually would be a good place. I mean, we have windmill plastics. We have
So at that end, right?
yeah,
Near
around
Knowlton
that
Road.
area. Yeah, it's not
Okay.
going to be, it would not be past Center Road, that's for sure.
Okay.
No.
Hi, would you like to be on the show? Do you have any questions or ideas you'd like to share? Go to julietaylor.ca and leave me a message. All right, and so you're not staying. You're thinking
No.
of moving on.
Yeah, I'm going to move on. I mean, 12 years.
What advice would you have for the next person who would want to be in your shoes for the next term, the next mandate? Is that what we say? Sounds
Yes.
so official.
Yes, my God, that was...
What would you suggest to that person? Not
Well-
so much on a personal note, but also how to be prepared and what qualities one would want to show.
Well, just quickly, since the 2021 election, I think there's 12% of all elected officials in Quebec that have resigned.
Mm.
They probably came into it. Before that, it was rare to have a councillor resign unless he was sick or a mayor, that he
Yeah.
for health issues or whatever. But when you have 12%, so it was during COVID, they came in. They weren't expecting what they were going to find, and we didn't expect either, even though we were already elected before, how much it had changed with COVID and how people had changed. And in many ways, the aggressiveness, the non-respect, everything, and it still exists. So they got to have, first of all, tough skin,
Yeah.
because you're going to be criticized every time you make a decision. You're going to have to be, you have to be able to listen to people. You have to have a bonne écoute, as they say. Some
Yeah.
people say I don't, but I was known in the SQ to have one of the best ears
Yeah.
and listen to people's complaints and everything, because
Yeah.
I am. I'm very patient in that respect.
Yeah.
Because what's maybe small for me is big for them.
Yes.
And because I'm used to it, as a police, I was very used to that. So, and just be able to work as a team, be a part of a team, and you don't come in as mayor or as if you know it all. You have to come in as if you don't know, and you've got a good team under you, and you
Yeah.
have to listen to them. And same time, yes, you can have your input and everything, but you can't be the one that think you know it all. And people do. Some people have reputations.
Well, you
for
may,
that.
if that were the case, you could alienate your teammates, and then it would really not
Exactly.
work cohesively.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
You'd be downhill all the way after that.
Right.
Yeah.
So, patience.
Yes, patience, a good ear, tough skin,
Yeah.
know the people, because every sector of town of Brome Lake, people are different. As a police officer, I knew that.
Yeah.
And just be able to work with the team and have a good vision of the town and try to, some people even accuse me, you never had a vision. Yes, I had a vision of the town. I was brought up here.
Yeah.
But I had to adapt to change, as we all
Yes.
do, because if you don't adapt to a change to a certain point, you might as well stay home, because it's going to change either
Yeah.
way. So, as you can see everywhere in the
Yes.
world today,
So, what's on the upside? The good things of the job?
Oh, the good thing is a job. I mean, I love working with people. I love, that was the same thing with police. Trying to help people, that was one of my biggest things.
Finding solutions?
Finding solutions to be able to, if you can, solve them, and then at the same time, if you can't, well, you can't. But I mean, you can't solve everybody's problems, That was my biggest thing, working with the people, finding solutions, as you said, and just the ambiance of being around people and
Yeah.
working as a team. That's
Well,
what I enjoy.
I see your smile as you recall those moments.
Yes.
So, Richard, thank you so much for your visit today in studio and telling us about the 3 mandates, 12 years, and how we can be more involved even in our community.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, and happy retirement.
Yes, well, thank you very
We'll
much.
see you
And-
around for sure.
Oh, yes. I might go in hiding for a couple of months just to, oh, boy, what's it going to feel like? I don't know, because like I said, Friday I was out at police, tabled my nomination papers, and Monday on the road campaigning.
So you might be on the road campaigning last second is what I'm hearing. We're not sure if you're going to show up again. You keep us on our toes.
Well, I don't know. Let me see.
happy retirement and enjoy the time with your wife. And we didn't mention your wife, but, it's not just the team at work, but it's a team at home that makes it work, I imagine.
Oh, that's correct. Yes, for sure. Because behind every great man or great woman, there's a great man or a great woman. So,
Yeah.
And in my case, it's my wife, Susan. So, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks
Great.
for coming by.
Well, thank you.